Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle and triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. Thank you for joining us today for this episode of Her Version. The Her Version platform is built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people's stories. Today, I am speaking with an amazing woman named Dawnita. Dawnita is an amazing author and here today to share a story of teen pregnancy, enduring abuse, and how she came to create a relationship with God. She will be sharing some of her struggles with CPTSD in order to give hope to those that have a similar story. I am excited to share what she is doing now in her world to not only empower her daughters, but to help overwhelmed individuals create attainable goals and create independent souls. Welcome, lady. I think that's one of the things that I talk to individuals a lot who are in abusive relationships is it doesn't matter, they always get caught up in this whole, I don't know if it's actually abuse. I don't know if they're actually narcissists. I don't know. They don't hit me. You even said that. You're like, I wasn't getting hit. During a portion of you stated that at some point. None of that matters. All that matters is it not sitting right with you? If it's not sitting right with you, the semantics don't even matter. You don't belong together. And that's with friendships, that's with family, that's
jobs.
with thank
yeah.
you.
My last one was a job. Wonderful people. Don't get me wrong. I was working with wonderful people, but it was no longer the right situation for me. And I needed to step out of it. But I kept saying, they need me and I need to help them. And I was gaslighting myself to stay in that situation. You know what? They'll get along fine without me. And they have. They don't need me. It was a hard transition for everybody in the process, especially now. It was kind of a hard transition. But yeah, so I was gaslighting myself. Because that wasn't the situation that I needed to be in. My business is starting to take off. I've got other people that I need to serve and that I need to be working with. And that job was draining my time and energy that I needed to be putting into something else. So if it's not right, it's just not right.
100%. 100%. You mentioned a few minutes ago something about therapy or counseling or something. Did I hear you say that right?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that? I would love your take on personal development or personal growth. What's kind of your thought process when it comes to that stuff?
That's another one of those things that I think we need to be very, very careful with ourselves. And we need to make sure that we're putting ourselves in a therapy situation or a growth situation that is the best possible for us. Being out here on the prairie, whenever you plant a seed, you can't just plant a seed in sand and it thrive. You can't plant a seed in rocks. It's not going to thrive. You've got to have good soil to put it in. And then, if your water's not quite right, you may need a different watering situation. You may need to add some fertilizer. I kind of, God does this to us that every once in a while, he's going to dump shit on us. I'm sorry. I don't know how but he's going to dump a bunch of stuff on us. And you know what? That's compost. He's fertilizing the situation. So just because you're going through hard situations doesn't mean that you're not growing, but make sure that you're cultivating the right stuff for what you need. So I was very picky about the counselor that I found, it was, I knew her husband for a long time. We had worked with him in a different situation. And because I knew him so well, I knew that this was going to be a person that I trusted. And, as women, we tend to think if it's another woman, she's going to be trustworthy. And that's not always the case either.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So, if you need to move from one person to another for a little bit, go for it. I mentioned her stuff. She's got videos on YouTube. She's got books that she does. She has a whole program that you can go through. It's very science-based. She's a neuro some such or other scientist. Her stuff was great because it's not just telling you what's wrong with you, but it's given that hope that you can change it. And in the Bible, it says, renew your mind. And I believe that a lot of the stuff in the Bible, like my Stars book, is scientific. A lot, if God said it, there's a scientific reason why he said this. And so renewing your mind is like going through your brain and digging up all those bad highways that you've been driving on, that you've got ruts in going for so long. I'm not good enough. I don't belong here. Nobody likes me. I can't succeed. Whatever those things are that you're telling yourself, they're wrong. It's not true. And the Bible will tell you over and over again, you are special. I created you special in your mother's womb. Even though my mother was a teenager, I always grew up thinking that I was an accident. Well, God doesn't make accidents. So
Yeah.
no, I wasn't. He had a purpose for me. And why does God let bad things happen? Well, he lets people do bad things, because he's not going to force us. So unfortunately, it's not God making those bad things happen, but he's there with us. And a lot of times you don't see that until retrospect. And then you're like, oh, I got that little bit of encouragement from that teacher. This stranger on the street gave me that compliment that I really needed that day. Those little bits are those God moments. And so, I'm constantly trying to, I'm very reflective. And whenever I have a problem with somebody, and you're going to have drama with people, anytime you're around people, you can't get away from that. You're going to have some kind of a drama. The only person that I can change is myself. I can't change any of them. So I'm constantly trying to, okay, how do I need to change? How do I need to tweak myself? Not that I need to change who I am, but maybe the way I relate to people, the way I react, maybe I need to slow down, listen, pay more attention to what's going on around me, that type of thing. So yeah, I'll read the books and chew up the meat and spit out the bones. I'm not going to agree with everything that's in every book,
Yeah.
and just kind of, just keep trying. Don't give up on yourself.
Yeah. I think it kind of sounds like stay curious.
Yeah.
When I was listening to it, I was like, it kind of sounds like she's just staying curious, and it doesn't always all align with what you are thinking, but it still doesn't keep you from diving in, taking what you like and leaving the rest.
And I'm willing to be wrong. I think that's an important thing too. We think of men as being egotistic and not ever wanting to be wrong. I think they're just a little bit more boisterous about it, maybe. But we kind of have our way of doing that as well, and I've realized that I hardly ever agree with myself. Why would I think anybody else needed to? And it might be the sciencey part of me that is constantly trying to figure out how things are wired and how you can experiment with things and make things work better. So.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I um, deal with is individuals kind of understanding what we're saying. They're listening right now. We have people listening live right now. Thank you for supporting us and for hanging out with us, who might be thinking to themselves, got it. I understand everything that Dawnita is saying. However, my situation is different. My situation is worse. My situation is, you don't get it. And so, one of the things that I like to do is sometimes going from the darkness and then jumping to the light seems almost impossible to do. So, I kind of like to give little baby steps in order to allow people to just take a step in the right direction. So I kind of want to ask, in your own journey throughout all of these challenges and these struggles that you've gone through from a young age all the way up into adulthood, all kinds of stuff has happened. What do you feel, kind of looking back, were or are the steps that you took or the steps you should have took or your advice on steps now looking back, like a 1 2 3, like, hey, you're in the darkness, these are the first 3 steps that maybe you should take to kind of lean in towards bettering your mental state, your emotional state of mind.
I hit a really, really dark place whenever I was 15, and I just about committed suicide. I was right there, just so close.
Mhm.
And I can't say where it came from, but I felt like every situation that I was going through was going to make me a stronger person. And that no matter what anybody else thought of me, I was going to raise my head and carry myself with dignity.
Wait, how old were you when you were already thinking this?
15 years old.
Wow, girl, that is some serious, like,
I quit smoking.
self-awareness.
I quit drinking. I had started smoking whenever I was 10 years old. I started drinking and having sex when I was 13.
Wow.
So, and my children all know this. I've always been honest with them about my life. And I liked vodka and tequila. Forget the beer and that stuff's kind of gross. But by the time I was 15, I could drink almost a whole fifth of vodka by myself.
Wow.
So it was huge. I didn't like what it was doing. I didn't like the person I was becoming, you know? And yeah, it was like whatever I go through, whatever I have gone through, it's making me a better person. It's making me stronger. And I can carry my head with dignity and do the best I can. And I don't need to worry about what other people think of me. So, I mean, that's the biggest encouragement is quit telling yourself the lies because we all do that. Stop telling yourself the lies. And I still have lies that pop up today. It's like, oh, wait a minute. I'm thinking that's not right. So I still have to correct myself. It's a constant growth. I haven't just stepped from the darkness into the light. Oh, girl, I am so broken. And it's just like my pieces are just gradually glued together and we're painting flowers on them and we're just gonna make it pretty anyway.
That's great. That's great.
That's just I think that's it is just that encouragement to say, hey, yeah, you've been through this hard situation. But you're still here. You
Mhm.
haven't committed suicide. Nobody's killed you. God's got a purpose for you. You
Mhm.
are still here.
Mhm.
So pick yourself up, hold yourself with dignity, and start getting rid of those lies.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. What would you say is the number one lesson that you've learned about life?
This isn't all it is.
Ah,
I I've had, tons of health problems because I was a teen pregnancy. My mother threw up for the first 6 months and then she gained 75 pounds somehow at the last trimester.
No.
So I have issues with my blood sugar. I really struggle. And anybody with like autoimmune diseases and stuff, those hidden sicknesses that nobody can see. Um, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to just, in the depression, the anxiety, it's hard to pull yourself out of bed. It's hard to do the thing. And just realizing that this isn't it. This isn't all of it. I have a hope. I have an eternal hope that I'm going to be in heaven one day. Body. And my body isn't going to hurt all the time. And I'm not going to struggle with my weight. And my blood sugar isn't going to bother me. I'm going to feel good. And I'm going to be able to run and do all the things that I would like to do. So while I'm here and while I'm going through the things that I'm going through here, I'm going to do the best I can in the process and encourage others along the way. So, I mean, there's so much, but just joy in the moment, because no matter how hard it is right now, this isn't it.
Yeah, definitely.